What's up, guys? So, a lot to talk about, but I can't talk about it all because I got to keep it as short as possible. So I want to get right into it, and I think I just want to just nail things down right now in this message on a personal level, right? Like as it says, we all have to work out our own salvation. So it starts with us, right? And so I'm going to start this off, just looking at everything that's going on in the world with this quote from the Bible. The earth is given into the hands of the weak and the wicked, right? They cover the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who are they? Is he, but I'm saying, where are they, right? Where are the wicked? Where are the wicked that the earth, you know, is given to? And it might be the person in the mirror, depending on, where you're into, who you are. And so I just want to cover, I'll start with that and just want to go down and talk with a couple of things that were just on my mind, particularly when I look at like the Negro in America, right? And people in general. But, they say judgment starts at the house of the Lord, right? It starts at your own house. Not every, black people always talking about the white man is racist and this person is spicy white man. But what about you, right? Where is the critique of oneself, right? I think is most important. And I learned that in Buddhism, right? Self-awareness, right, is extremely important. So, and judgment starts at the house of the Lord. That's just kind of the same concept, right? You have to clean up your own house before you clean up somebody else's house. But anyway, that said, I want to get through this. I want to say this. If Satan, the Antichrist, is the hand that feeds you, you will never go against him. And so, like, the Negro has a problem, right? He he's gotten in bed. That's why Moses said in the Bible, "Let my people go, so they can go serve the God of their fathers." Because the once you get in bed with Satan, the Antichrist, and you give up all your morals and your codes, as the Joker said, they become a bad joke. All right. And so you can't bite the hand that feeds you. Here's the dilemma. If the hand that feeds you is Satan the Antichrist and his agency, his agents and his agency, where do you go from there? And let's be honest. I'm gonna be honest. Something happened recently which convinced me, and I'm finished. I'm done. I'm so done. That most people that you meet, whether in your family, friends, groups, work, school, whatever, have basically decided that what Satan, the Antichrist, is offering them is it's way more acceptable than the fight that the Lord of Hosts is offering them. Regardless of their crosses, their churches, and their Bibles, right? They've already made a deal with the devil, so to speak. Unspoken deal with the devil. And if something happens around while they're around you, you'll find that out. Like a lot of times people say, I don't want to talk about politics and religion. More than likely you're dealing with a compromised person. Because the question would be, what are you hiding? Right? If you don't want to talk about something publicly, either you're stupid and you're ignorant and you don't know anything about it, and it's smart for you not to say anything, or you're hiding something. You want to reveal your position. And most of the time your position is probably that of the Antichrist, that of Satan, right? Or agent thereof. Why? Because you don't want to bite the hand that feeds you. You say, I don't want to talk about politics and religion. Of course you don't. Because you don't want to bite the hand, you don't want to bite the hand that's feeding you. That time is almost over with. I don't think you notice. Most people may, or most people think this is another drill, right? This is not a drill, ladies and gentlemen. This thing is coming down to the wire. Whether it's something that's being forced or not, right? Or something organic or not, it's going to have the same result, right? Like the situation is happening overseas, right? That's going to soon be happening right where you're at. And so, but most people are compromised, right? And I have to say, if they can't compromise or use you, they will get rid of you or attempt to neutralize you. That's what I've noticed. Like, I have people around me like that. I've noticed that about them. Like, when people can't use you, like they can't get a whole lot from you, or and they can't, and you are a threat to a system and a way of life that they've sworn allegiance to, maybe silently, maybe slightly begrudgingly, but with their actions, through their paychecks and things like that, and their associations and their networks. If you are a threat to that, like you don't support, you probably, they sense that you don't support that, the wickedness of the agents of Satan and the Antichrist and the beast system. They may not say it openly, but they want to neutralize you or isolate you. And that's just the truth, right? They want you neutralized, they want you isolated, and they want you dead. That's just the truth, right? And a lot of them are your family and your friends, the people you work with or don't work with. Because if they sense that about you, you won't be working places. Like me, I always had trouble getting jobs. Not because I was I just, I'm kind of an empath, so I can sense certain things. You know what I mean? You can sense deceit in people. And when you sense that deceit in them, it's hard to talk about the weather and shit. When under the surface, you sense that this is a deceitful person who doesn't like the Negro, really doesn't want you there. You're more of a token. And a lot of people are okay with being tokens, right? The Negro in America is okay with being tokens, right? All it got him was a bottom caste, bottom class, whatever you want to call it, right? But if Satan, the Antichrist, is the hand that feeds you, you'll never go against him. Right? That's why the Bible said 2/3 of my people shall die and be cut off. Because they made a deal with the devil. Right? And you can tell these people, whether they in your family, so-called friends, like I said, jobs, different things, people are going to, when they realize that you're not a part of that, they're gonna, you notice like when you ask them shit, they'll drag their feet, right? Or things like that. Or they'll try to get rid of you, or they'll try to neutralize you. When you ain't on team Satan, right? They want you neutralized. Right? They're not gonna say it because they'll be like, oh, I'm a nice person. But that's the honest truth. They want you neutralized. One way or another. They want you compromised or neutralized. You see? When you don't fit in, right? And what does that mean? When you don't fit in with the plan of the Antichrist, Satan, right? When you're aligned with the Lord of hosts, you gotta go. And what you don't want to accept is most of the people, 90% of the people around you are compromised. I'd say 90. I'd say 90%. And it's a scary situation. And you realize that like you can't, there's nothing you can do about it. You can't, there's nothing you can do at all. Zero. All you can do is take care of yourself, right? And wait for the Lord. That's it. But you'll be doing it alone in a lot of cases, right? For now. For now, right? If you are, as the Buddhists say, you are a caused, awakened one, you'll probably be doing that alone. You'll be dying alone, and you have to be okay with that, right? You have to be okay with that. This is why I say that. Like, Jesse Jackson died recently, right? Now, if a lot of people, I had this conversation with a guy, and he claimed to be okay with it, but he probably wasn't. With two guys. And he's like, oh, Jesse Jackson died. And I was like, fuck him, right? And you go, oh. He was taken aback. Why would you say something like that? He's a status quo Negro, right? One of these, basically a Satan worshiper at a certain level, right? Knowingly or unknowingly, right? And I said, because it's clear that Jesse Jackson was involved in the setup and assassination of his so-called friend, MLK, right? Now, with all that has happened, I mean, just let's forget it. Forget the, minutia. Brass tacks. Why would you respect or care about a man, right, who set up his so-called, one of his best friends for money and position and power? Why? But for the Negro, that's acceptable. See, this is satanic. That's the devil. That's the mark of the beast, right? The sign of Satanism, the sign of the agency of the Antichrist, right? It's incremental, small things, right? You accept Jesse Jackson, who really did shit for you, right? At a certain level. Because if you still at the bottom, it's like me, I go to work. If I don't do a good job, I get fired. It's no way that statistically black people in a lot of categories, most categories, could be at the bottom in the United States. And people like Jesse Jackson considered to be doing a great job. Unless you are a loser with low fucking standards. With no self-respect. All right? Let's be clear. I can't get away with that shit when I do a job. If I do the slightest thing that say or do the slightest thing that people disagree with or don't like, I get terminated, lambasted, talked about, blackballed, you name it. All right? So how is it people like Jesse Jackson can have, subpar results for 50 years and be considered great? Because he's an agent of the Antichrist. He works for the satanic system. He set up his best friend to be murdered and then covered it up. Right? And black people probably know this at a certain level. They just don't want you to say it because a lot of them are the same way. Like when I said that to this guy, he said, right on, bro. Yeah, you right. I don't believe him. I really don't. I don't believe him, and I don't believe the people around me that when I say something like that, act like they agree. I just don't believe you anymore. Right? I think you're just saying that out of deception. I really do. I think most of the people that understand that don't understand it, and then you present that information to them. I mean, he was best friends with the FBI, the photographer. Jesse Jackson maintained a friendship with an FBI agent, the photographer that was around him that they found out. And he maintained that relationship with this guy until he died, and even after that, right? He was friends with this guy's family, whatever. Doesn't make sense. That means you were involved. You set up your best friend. You helped set up your best friend, right? That's the only reason you would be involved with somebody that did, is if you were a part of it. There's no other explanation. You understand? Other than you're just a weak individual. But no, he was probably involved. And if you look at his subpar results, that's enough for you to say, you know what, fuck this guy. You know, in the end, I mean, we've had 50 years to see your results and watch you do what you did. You know, you could have did better. You didn't. Why? You didn't want to go the way of Martin Luther King. So fuck that. And that's the lesson of most Negroes in America. Right? They feel like, listen, the days of sacrifice is over with. Slavery, Jim Crow, whatever, civil rights. I want a comfortable existence in Egypt. I do not want no Moses telling me, let my people go so they can serve their God. I'm here under my God, under Satan, under the Antichrist, right? I'm under my God. What are you talking about? There's nowhere to go. So most people are compromised. And if they can't compromise you, they will neutralize you, right? They've already made their choice. And if you can't be brought into the fold, they'll exercise you. Not the demons, but you. You see? Why? Because the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. They cover the faces of the judges. They're covering up for the wickedness. They're cowering and covering up for the wickedness. You see? That's why they have leaders, and they say, I don't want to talk about politics and religion, because you're covering up for your wicked leaders, because you, at a certain level, are just like them. And you can't have friends if you say that. Like me, I don't have any friends, right? Only the ancestors and God and the Most High, right? In the universe itself. I don't have any friends. And I'm proud to say that. You see? I'm proud to say I don't have any friends. You know, I mean, just like Nearly Fuller said, do slaves have friends? You see? And it's unfortunate that we live in a system like this, but it's true. The people that you think support you don't really support you. Right? They're not going to bite the hand that feeds them for you. Let's be clear. They're just not going to do it. They're not going to do it. And who is the hand that feeds them? You know and I know, right? It's the beast system, right? You're not worth it. I just went through that with somebody, right? And I didn't do anything. I just basically, a situation presented itself where it exposed them for what they are and what they're doing, and you know, the way they're operating, kind of under the surface, and kind of with a traitorous, you know, coonish vibe, right? At a certain level, sellout type vibe. And I didn't say anything. The situation presented itself. They got so uncomfortable because they know how I am. They stopped talking to me because they was afraid I was going to say something. I wasn't. I stopped that. I don't do that. Right? I mean, I may pull a trigger on you, but generally, I'll just walk away and just won't say anything. And I probably won't say anything else to you. Not much anyway. It's too late. The universe is going to speak to you, right? These missiles are going to speak to you. This fire is going to speak. You know, like the universe is going to talk to you and communicate with you in a exponentially in a way that I could never do. There is nothing left for me to say. Like Christ said, if I tell these men to be quiet about the injustice, soon the rocks shall cry out. The rocks is crying out now. The rocks shall cry out. Right? And that's what's happening now. The rocks is going to cry out. The earth, the universe itself is going to cry unto you, right? In a way that and speak to you in a way that you can't resist, right? That you can't resist. So why should I say anything? There's nothing left to say, right? A wise man once said nothing at all. As the old saying, right? If you wise, you don't say anything. You just walk away. Yeah. If Satan and Antichrist is the hand that feeds you, you'll never go against him. That's why he has to be destroyed. But the unfortunate thing is, if you've allowed yourself to be that compromised, you're in line for that as well. You see, that's the unfortunate thing, right? The party's over. If you said, listen, nobody loves a coward, a sellout, a traitor, a cutthroat, a backstabber, an easily compromised person, but Satan. Nobody loves that kind of person. A person with no morals and standards at a certain level, right? It's like on the surface, you got morals, standards. Oh, that's my friends, woo, woo, woo. But then under the surface, that's all put there by Satan. That's all you not biting the hand that feeds you. That's all capitulation to the devil, right? To put it in, these very low, biblical terms, right? That maybe people can understand. Not to get all complex, because the Negro mind gonna explode if I get too complex. Right? So I just try to just keep it simple. But so that's all I wanted to say, right? And I don't want to make this too long. That's all I wanted to say. But yeah, the earth is given into the hands of the wicked. That's why this all has to be reordered. I mean, it's gotten to the point where it's just mask off, agenda out, mask off, which is for the best. You know what I'm saying? Like, the Negro in America, he want change, but he don't want to fight for it no more. Right? He want revolution, but he wants somebody else to do it and give it to him. Right? He want to be Jesse Jackson, not Martin Luther King. Right? He want a bunch of fake coalitions and, and some crumbs off the table, but he ain't trying to, really go there. He want to talk loud and be spicy, Jasmine Crockett, or something like that, and seem like they spicy, but in the background, they really a Zionist or, some other weird, they got some other weird, associations. They got black-brown coalitions that don't exist. They telling you all this shit. And you say, wait a minute, what are you talking about? What's going on here? Then you start to notice. Don't notice. Don't notice. So, but I mean, it's sad, man. But don't feel like you're alone, because you're not. All right? Like, I don't know how much longer I got, right? Because I'm in a bad spot, but and in many different ways. And so it's going to get spooky. You know what I mean? For me, I already know this. And I'm not going to make it, and I'm going to probably die alone. Right? But I have a happy death. I think, what they say, death before dishonor, right? You have to try to have an honorable, happy death. And have some standards. Don't die like a satanic, wicked creature. Right? You want to die, you want to be surrounded by and brought into the next dimension by your ancestors, spirit of your ancestors, and the spirit of the Lord of hosts. Not the devil. Not Satan. Not the degenerate. Right? You want your spirit to ascend, not descend, not degenerate. And most people are on a very degenerate path, particularly in America. They led by degenerates, the Epstein class of degenerates. You see? And it's all being exposed. It's the apocalypse now. right? It's all exposed. There's no going back. When I saw that shit in Gaza, I said, there's no going back after this. And now I see what's happening in Iran. I said, it's definitely, that's it. I was waiting for the final shoe to drop, and that looks like it's going to be it. I could be wrong. I don't think so. Right? Most people are going to be on the wrong side of history when this thing happens. When this thing really, really gets going and we start coming to a head, they're going to end up on the wrong side of history because they suffer from normalcy bias. They think because something hasn't happened, it can't happen. Right? You say, well, hey man, we've been chilling for the 60 years, woo, woo, woo. This won't happen, that won't happen. Aliens aren't real. There's no such thing as the Antichrist, Satan, who's actually an alien. The Bible is fake. Laws in the Bible don't matter. Morals and standards are something for, that, we can do a la carte. Take a little bit of this, but not that. Look the other way. Take a couple bucks under the table. Right? Don't bite the hand that feeds you, even if it's Satan, the Antichrist. Go along and get along. It's over with. The Lord does not want to get along with Satan. I'm sorry to inform you guys. And he does not want to get along with anybody with that kind of attitude. Anybody that says, listen, I'm not biting the hand that feed me and the hand of Satan and, the Antichrist. You're toast. Right? You're toast. And as much as people might want to neutralize me, my message, people like me, people that aspire to enlightenment, right? Aspire to a standard of enlightenment. You're not gonna win. You know what I mean? Like, you're just not. I'm sorry. A lot of you, I look at you and I know it looks like the devil has won, right? I know it when you see, I mean, when you turn on the TV and you see these people talking, you think the Antichrist has won. His forces have overrun the earth. I'm not biting the hand that feeds me, right? I will take my slow death from them, right? My slow starvation, my ice, whatever. I'll take my crumbs and just, suck upon the teat, right? Until the very end. That's fine. The problem is the party is over, I think. And most of these people, they're going to get a rude awakening very soon now. Right? Because this is the apocalypse. What is the apocalypse? The apocalypse just means to a great revealing of things, right? In Greek translation. I mean, what you're going to get is going to get revealed. The whole Epstein class is revealed. Your whole political class is revealed for the degenerates, satanic degenerates they are. The Israelis will be getting revealed. Revelations 2 and 9 for who and what they are. If Gaza didn't convince you, somehow the Negro needs more convincing. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get it. You're gonna get what you need to be convinced. The problem is, it's not gonna help you after you. You know what I mean? Like the Bible says, after you have received the truth, there's no more forgiveness or repentance of sins. The Lord knew you knew the truth the whole time. You was just selling out. Right? He knew you was selling out. He knew you was capitulating. He knew you was going along to get along. Right? That you were compromised. Nobody wants a person like that around them. Do you think if Martin Luther King knew that Jesse Jackson, maybe his photographer, Andrew, I think, was it Andrew Jackson? Other guy, Andrew, whatever his name was. If he understood these guys were totally compromised and going to get him killed, which he probably actually did at the last minute, he really would have wanted them around him? No, he wouldn't have. He wouldn't have wanted these people around him. He would have tried to separate himself from them. That's the same thing the Lord is going to do, and that's the same thing is going to happen to these people. You're going to be you put a wedge between yourself and God with what you've done. You said, what must I do to hear it and feel it or whatever? Nothing. There's nothing you can do now. There's nothing you can do. Unfortunately. Right? As they say, you've sold your soul to the devil. Right? And he's about to come to collect. There's nothing you can do. It's going to get real spooky out here soon. Right? For all the status quo, particularly Negroes. But in general, the population in general, to have, suck off the teeth, right? You suck on the teeth of Satan, right? I mean, that's going to end badly, but let's just let that marinate and let that, do what it do. You know what I mean? Because telling people, one thing I learned, I don't talk to, once I sense certain things about you, I'm out. I'm gonna make I don't give a fuck. I walking through the desert by myself. Fuck it, I'm out. So man, you going through that desert by yourself? It's scorpions in there. We at that point. Right? It's demons. It's scorpions there. All kinds of wicked creatures. You just gonna walk off into that, desolate desert and forest by yourself with just that rod and that staff in your hand and a piece of bread and one bottle of water. They got no choice. They left me no choice. It's either that or sell my soul to the devil. To put it in layman's terms. I'll just walk off into the desert. That's fine. Right? I'll walk off into that desolate landscape. The forest, the desolate, the forest of death, the front line, whatever. I'll just walk into the fire. I may come out on the other side transformed. You, on the other hand, will not. Right? Whether I physically come out on the other side or spiritually come out on the other side, I'll be transformed. You will not. And that's a good thing. Right? That's the whole thing in a nutshell. You see? It's the process doesn't matter. The spirit matters, right? The state of the spirit and consciousness is what matters. It drives the boat forward, right? So you just go forward in what you know is right. Into truth, shunyata, into the ultimate reality, ultimate truth, right? As the Buddhists say, you search for that, you strive for that. You go through the fire, you go through the front line, you go through the pain, the detachment, right? The ostracization, you go through all these painful things, these disturbing things. You look right at it. You go right through it. Like he said, when you see a demon, you walk right up to him. What do you want, demon? Why are you here? He said, I'm here for you. Well, here I am. Take me. Let's go. Knuckle up. Right? And that's what you do. While you walking through that desolate land with these demons, right? And these foul creatures. You see? And this fire and this fury, right? You walk into it. You just walk into it. You see? There's only two things gonna happen. You physically come out intact, physically and spiritually, or you spiritually come out intact. As long as you're okay with that, you'll be fine. Either way, there's nothing they could do to you. Nothing they can do to you anymore. There's nothing, a true master, the Buddhists say this, I'm going to end on this. A true master doesn't give you belief. He destroys all of your beliefs. You have to understand that. A true master does not come and give you belief. He destroys all of your beliefs and gives you nothing to stand on. So you have to link up with the truth, reality, the universe itself, right? to become solid, right? Inside and out. You see? The master is coming. He's going to destroy everything. All of your beliefs are going to be destroyed. Everything you believe in will be destroyed. That is the sign of the true master. You see? And then he's going to ask you, who are you? Who are you now? Right? All of that is gone. Who are you now? It's a question. Right? Who are you now? It's all gone. Your flags, right? Your fake allegiances, right? Your bullshit systems and structures, it's all gone now. Now, who do you believe in? What do you believe now? You've seen it all. Now you see it's just smoke and mirrors, and it's not real, and you swore allegiance to something that was never gonna make it. Right? For your own self-serving, weak purposes, right? Your weak-willed purposes, whatever, right? Because of your degeneracy at a certain level. You gave in. You didn't resist. You gave in to the degeneration. You liked the crumbs off the table. Now what? The table is gone. Satan is gone. There are no crumbs to get from him. Now what? You're going to try to be like, oh, that's my side. No, I was with you the whole time. I was with you the whole time. I was just pretending. That was just an act. I wasn't really with these people. I wasn't really with all of this. It was just an act. See, now that's what I can say, but that's not what a lot of you can say. I might can say, yeah, I was at that job pretending because I needed a check. I was at this place pretending to be down with it. Most people are not going to be able to say that. Honestly, right? They're not. They're just not. They're going to be, the only thing they can say is, you know what? You got me. I was wholeheartedly on board 100%. I just thought it would never, the gravy train was never going to come to an end. And I was going to ride it out until I died, right? What can I do now to make amends? You know what's going to happen? You're going to say nothing.